I mean, some might say they were already kicking tires on the replacement this offseason. Like if Deshaun Watson's situation wasn't what it is, maybe Deshaun Watson's in Miami. Who knows? But hopefully our next guest does. His name is Zach Krantz, and he's part of the Joe Rose Show. You hear him down in Miami, WQAM. Zach, Tiki and Tierney, what's happening, buddy? How are you today?
Gentlemen, thank you very much for the invite. I appreciate it. And yes, you basically hit it on target. It's all on Lefty. It's all on Tua. The last 2 years, 11 draft picks, very, very high, including 5 first-round picks.
Mm-hmm.
This was a rebuild built on finding your franchise quarterback. And, of course, when you bring up the name Justin Herbert, people down here get sick to their stomachs a little bit.
As they should.
That could have been the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, as they should, as I am right now. Excuse me while we regurgitate what just happened.
Yeah.
But it's all in Tua. But it's funny because the soundbite you played, which obviously made headlines not just down here in Miami but around the country, seemed like it was about 5 years ago because of the fact that Tua has really played well. In the preseason games, he's played okay, but during practice, you could just notice a difference in him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he's going to come out and be, he's not going to be in the top tier 3-4 quarterbacks this year. If he makes that top tier, what I mean, the top 16, I would be very excited at that point, and I think Dolphin fans would too, but everything is based, I don't care about the 11 draft picks, the free agent we picked up, the free agents we let go. If Tua plays well, this team should be better.
Take, by the way, I'm hearing, and I get it. You laid out very well, Zach, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm hearing some buts. I'm hearing some contingencies. I'm hearing some hesitancy. I'm hearing some context. I mean, I don't think they're saying that up in Buffalo. Like if Josh Allen does, they're not saying that with the teams that are locked and loaded. And maybe it's a little bit early. Let me do this. Maybe because Flores squeezed a little more out of this team, maybe earlier than they really were ready to. Maybe they overachieved early is what I'm saying. That we have unfairly skyrocketed the expectations, and maybe they're just not ready to do that. I mean, aside from the quarterback, not just about Tua, I mean in totality.
Yeah, it's definitely possible because think about the first year when they went 5-11 under Brian Flores. The first 2 games of the season was in Baltimore and New England. I think they lost by about 2,000 points in those 2 games.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson locked up the MVP at halftime of Game 1 of the NFL season. I don't think you guys could ever go back in history and see that, but he did. I think he threw 5 or 6 touchdown passes in the first half of Game 1 of the opener 2 years ago. They overachieved last year, I think, a little bit, sure. But in the first year, this was a team after 3 or 4 weeks that I don't think anyone who covers the NFL said they're going to win a game. Like, they were really bad. So he's done a lot, Brian Flores, and I like Brian Flores a lot. I think he's brought some pretty good, and I hate to use this word down there because, I'm in Miami and someone's going to bring up the heat, but he's brought up good culture to this team. He's changed everything down here. But you're right. In my whole little diatribe before, there must have been 4 or 5 butts in there. And you brought up Deshaun Watson before. If there was no legal issues, if nothing was in the background, he just was a quarterback that was a top 5 quarterback in the league that wanted out of Houston, the Dolphins were lined up. I'm sure they were lined up with everything they could give to get him, including getting rid of Tua if that meant that. But, yeah, that was the case then. A little bit different now, but it all rides on Tua. The draft picks, Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips this year, 3 first-rounders, including 2 of the year before, 11 top draft picks, free agent money. They've done everything they could to put the talent around Tua. No preseason last year, no preseason games. I'm not trying to make excuses, although I am making excuses. So Tua right now has everything that he needs to get better and improve this team, and hopefully he gets better at a quarterback. And if he does, like I said before, this team should be fine. The defense is hopefully going to be as good as last year. Last year they were awesome. They were great. If they're almost as good as last year and Tua gets better, I can't see this team being worse than 10-6 this year. But there's a lot of buts in there. I get it.
Yeah, but Zach, I mean, you say all these things and you talk about the talent, and it feels like they put the right pieces around him. Devontae Parker's finally starting playing good football over the last couple of years. Will Fuller, if he stays healthy. But what is your expectation? What is Miami's expectations? I'm talking about the fan base for this Dolphins squad. We know that the Bills took the necessary jump, as BT was alluding to, and the opportunity came because the Patriots lost Tom Brady. They go and seize the division. What's the expectation for Miami?
I think the expectation is that the Bills are going to win the AFC East, and you better be the wild card team and the second best team in the AFC East. Because New England's got Belichick, and whenever Belichick is out there coaching, I'm afraid. I don't care if he loses Brady. It doesn't matter at this point. He's a master coach. He's one of the, he's not the best, one of the best ever for no reason. So last year was kind of, how many guys they lost last year that opted out, that left the team. Now they got all those guys back. And listen, the quarterback position for them is very important too, whether it's the rookie Cam. But I think the expectations in Miami from the fans are, you went 10-6 last year. If Tua has improved, you better make the playoffs this year. And I'm not saying Flores is going to be fired if they don't, but I think if they go 10-7 this year, if they go 10-7, or if they go 9-8 this year and somehow they don't make the playoffs, this is not going to look good for anyone in that front office that they haven't gotten any better.
I got to tell you, we're talking to Zach Krantz, part of the Joe Rose Show. He's down in Miami WQAM, and we're talking about the Dolphins, obviously, who have had a nice run back to relevance. You know, you want to, if you're ever bored, just for from 2000 until really only a year or two ago, just go back and look at the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Bills, starting quarterbacks, a litany of head coaches, multiple GMs. Well, I mean, it's disgraceful. And we'll see if the Jets are going to start getting their act together. But the Dolphins are starting to, for sure. The Bills definitely have. The only thing I'm worried about, Zach, and I like Miami. I don't love them, but I like them. But I'm very fearful of the start, for a quick start. This beginning of the season is brutal. I know you talk about this. Let me just give America their first 5 games. And I know, I'm not going to play the one win, loss. I mean, that's ridiculous. But you're playing the Pats, you're playing the Bills, you're playing at Vegas, you're playing the Colts, you're playing in Tampa. I'm not going to forecast 0-5, but, I mean, is it completely implausible that as Tua gets his act together and et cetera, they're 1-4? And if you are 1-4 in the very crowded, very potent AFC, that could be curtains even with the 17th game.
If they start off 1-4, they've dug a hole that they are not going to get out of.
Yeah.
I mean, now with the Bills, I mean, the and especially losing to the Pats also. I get it that you want to at least, at worst, split with the Pats or win both. You want to beat the Jets 2 times because they're obviously where they are, and you want to try to split with the Bills if you can. Even though that last game, the last game of the season last year against the Bills, what a bad taste in everyone's mouth to end the season, even on 10-6. But just getting blown out from the start. I mean, we talk about it all the time in the show. At one point, the Dolphins were up 3-0, and then the Bills, I mean, they're still scoring touchdowns on them. Someone's got to stop the Bills at this point from still scoring on them. So it was a really bad end of the season. But you're right. If they somehow are 1-4, 5 games, this is going to, I'll tell you what's going to be great for sports radio, but it's going to be bad for the Dolphins organization at that point down here locally, because that is not the start that I think they need to, at minimum, go 3-2 to start that season. That's including a loss to the Bills.
Yeah, one of the defensive stalwarts for this team, really the NFL, is Xavien Howard, and it was looking like it was going to get ugly, but obviously the new rules about holdouts prompted him to come. But they placate him a little bit. They gave him some new money, but not anything that I really think he was really looking for. How does this situation play out, and do they move on from him like they did with Minkah Fitzpatrick a year ago, or 2 years ago, I should say?
I thought that was going to be the end result of that. He hired a new agent. New agents don't get paid unless you sign a new deal. So I was fearful that he was going to literally call the Dolphins and say, Xavien loves playing for the Dolphins. Let's rip that contract up and let's get another long-term deal going. And this is only a year after he signed that deal. I was in the side, if you want to call it, the side of if it's moving money around to at least salvage this season, do it. Because guess what? This time next year, or not this time next year, but like July of next year, June of next year, we're going to be in the same boat. If he has another season where he gets 6+ interceptions, if that's, that's a really good season for him. He had 10 last year, but we're going to be there again because, there's going to be more money that he's going to want after that. And he's going to claim he's the best cornerback in the league or right up there with the top 3, which last year he proved he probably was. Yeah, that was scary for me. Because without Xavien Howard, that defense is not where that defense should be. Byron Jones is on one side, Xavien's on the other. You got 2 really good cornerbacks. Mm-hmm. You take Xavien out of the mix. You make Byron your number 1 guy. You've got a first-round pick in Igbenogany. You've got a couple other guys like Nick Needham. That is not going to be the same defense. Flores' defense is meant on, we'll cover you one-on-one. We're going to rush the quarterback. But we're depending on our cornerbacks, our defensive backs, to make plays. And if Xavien's not there, your best playmaker, that was really going to hurt the team this year. But I do think 8-9 months from now, probably in the same boat where maybe he's talking about his contract again.
No, I got to ask you, and a little bit of a step away, although it'll eventually fuse back to the Dolphins here. So When I was growing up in the 80s, playing, in the street every day, a couple of guys in the neighborhood, I'm talking about in New York, Dolphin jerseys, Merino, right? And it was torturous because you guys were terrific and you always beat my Jets, right? And then a little thing called the Miami Heat came to town. And, Shaq and D-Wade, LeBron, C-Bosh, Pat Riley before that, Pat Riley still, Spo. Like, how has the pecking order of sporting royalty, what is it right now? I mean, the Marlins, forget about them, but between the Heat and the Dolphins, I think the Dolphins lost a lot of luster down there in Florida. Where is it right now today, Zach?
It's funny because I say it a lot of times on the show. If you're a 30-year-old Dolphin fan right now, you don't know what a winning season really looks like.
No.
You know what the aberration season looks like in 2008 when they won the AFC East when Brady got hurt on the third play of the season.
Yep.
And they won the AFC East, except that Matt Castle still took them to 11-5, and you won on a tiebreaker. The last playoff win for this team was in 2000. That was the last win in the playoffs, and you've only been to the playoffs 3 times since then. And you lost in the opening round of all those years. You don't know what winning football is like. You just brought great memories for me. I remember as a kid growing up and knowing, well, I got Dan Marino, I got this high-powered offense. Man, I hope we're going to host a playoff game this year, not have to go on the road in opening round. I hope we beat the stinking Jets twice. I know we're going to beat the Bills twice, except when they had that run with Jim Kelly and those guys. But, yeah, I wasn't worried about the Patriots back then, the Steve Grogan Patriots, who I wasn't really worried after that.
So are you saying that the Heat have supplanted the Dolphins as a preeminent team?
I think the Heat, what they've done in the last 25 years is got the younger generation thinking they're the number one team in town.
Interesting.
The older guys, I put it like this. The Heat have had 3 championships since 2006, 5 NBA Finals when obviously the big 3 are here. They went to 4 straight. They've had a couple parades. I mean, Joe Rose, my partner, was the last person to play in a Dolphins Super Bowl. I think it was Super Bowl 19. I think that's the last Dolphins Super Bowl they played in.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it and say, if the Dolphins win a Super Bowl, the parade is going to go from Orlando to Key West. Like, that's how many people are going to be excited about a Dolphins Super Bowl win. The Heat, I just expect it from them now. That's the difference. Like, last year getting swept in the playoffs, those guys got torched down here. Jimmy Butler, Bam, Pat Riley, is he losing it? They got torched, and that, to me, proved the younger crowd are the Heat people. The older crowd are more Dolphin people. But if this team can get to the playoffs on a half-consistent basis 2 out of the next 3 years, 3 out of the next 4, I think it's easily going to shake right back to Dolphins now.
There you go. All right, we'll be watching, man. This is one of those teams you circle. As I introduced Zach Krantz about 15, 16 minutes ago, I said, the Raiders, maybe Tiki's Giants as well. There's a couple teams like you think could be good, in some ways should be good, but still far from a done deal. It's still an evolving team, and it's a really interesting story to watch. Zach, good job, man. I appreciate the conversation. Good having you on the show. Nicely done, bud. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified when we drop fresh content.